over the weekend, something pretty wild happened with Mantra's OHM token, and as someone who holds OHM, this was not only alarming, but also deeply personal for myself. On April 12th, during a low liquidity window, late on Sunday evening UTC, the price of OHM suddenly collapsed from around $6.30 to as low as 45 cents within minutes. Billions in market cap were wiped out, and understandably, the entire community went into shock. So what exactly happened? This is a question that a lot of us have been asking ourselves basically for the last 3 or 4 days now. According to Mantra's co-founder JP Mullin, this was not a rug, this was not the team, this was not an exploit, and it was not insider selling. Instead, what happened was a wave of forced liquidations on one centralized exchange, and those liquidations happened fast and with very little warning. The exchange has not been named publicly by the official team, but there have been rumors going around that this exchange might actually be OKX. And yeah, basically the forced closures on large OHM positions triggered cascading sell-offs at the worst time possible, basically a time when there was thin liquidity and no safeguards in place to absorb the shock. It happened on Sunday, like very early morning. In fact, JP only got to respond a couple hours later when he woke up and received the news. And so yeah, the team basically states that the sell pressure came from wallets that were fresh and unmarked, meaning they didn't belong to insiders or market makers directly tied to Mantra. Still, in the hours that followed, rumors began flying that maybe the crash was insider-driven or somehow part of a coordinated exit, with several of Mantra's early investors even being blamed directly. Now, since then, many of those same investors like Sharuk Partners and Laser Digital have stepped forward and publicly made it clear that they are very much in support of OHM and they did not sell a single token during the crash. So it is very important to take a lot of the information that you're receiving online with a grain of salt, because most of it, based on the evidence provided from the Mantra team and people who have been looking into what exactly happened, actually does point to the fact that this was not an action by the team. The team wallet addresses are also public. In fact, JP's wallet is quite public. We all pretty much have it because he keeps sharing it, and all the data is also verifiable on chain. Now, as the price collapsed, JP and the Mantra team went live on Twitter Spaces, cancelling scheduled public appearances to focus entirely on this situation. I think he attended one event where he also reassured investors and those who attended that this had nothing to do with the team, that they would get to the bottom of it, and that they had every intention to restore the community. They've also promised a full post-mortem, and in the meantime, they are working on what I think, if I can remember correctly, will be a buyback and burn program to restore the value of the OHM token and ultimately the community. Now, another point of misinformation was a comment made by JP where he stated that he is willing to burn his own personal OHM allocation to help restore confidence. People took that as him stating that he would be burning the entire team's allocation. He came out today stating that this is not what he meant. Honestly, that's not how I read it either. It was just him committing to forego his allocation until people felt that they had done good by the community and really, troubleshooted this shit show, because for lack of a better word, this really has been a shit show. Even for myself, I've barely slept since Sunday, been monitoring my portfolio. I am down now, but I have faith in the team since receiving their response over the last several days, and so it's been a bit more reassuring, but definitely curious to see what this burn back program is ultimately going to look like. And so yeah, I really do want to be clear that at the time of my making this video, I do hold OHM tokens. I was affected by this. I did not sell and I do not plan to. It's basically because, to be honest, I know the team. I've watched them build over the last year or so is when I first learned about Mantra, and I've seen their commitment to tokenize real-world assets when few others were focused on it. If you look at the Mantra chart, you will see that they have survived before, they have adapted before, and yeah, I basically believe that they will do it again. But that is just me, and this is by no means financial advice. If you are an OM holder, you've got to make your own decision based on your own situation and your own conviction. Now, since the crash, we've seen a very small recovery. OM is back at 80 cents to about $1 from a low of around 30 to 45 cents. I, to be honest, actually bought more at 45 cents. But yeah, this is still a far cry from where it was before the collapse. Personally, I think that trust will take quite some time to rebuild. Markets will take time to stabilize, and what happens next depends not just on what the team does, but how everybody responds to it. I'm gonna keep this nice and short. That is all for OM Mantra updates for now. Up until next time, goodbye.